everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer for Kentucky Derby Prep Recap. In this week's edition, we're going to take a look back at the Withers Stakes on Saturday, February the 6th, the Grade 3 at Aqueduct at a demanding 1.125 distance. We break from the gate, and we've got Capo Cane, the winner of the Jerome on New Year's Day, going right to the front. The key to this race for Capo Cane, a lot of folks thought was distance, and I think it did come down to distance for Capo Cane.
Yeah, in some ways it did. You'll see him make the early lead here. I thought without too much trouble, Dan. I mean, he's not exactly walking, but he is able to get where he wants to get, which is on the lead with a big long shot tracking him on the outside. When it comes right down to it, though, maybe he just doesn't stay the 9 furlongs.
The eventual winner of this race, the number 5 Risk Taking, is currently sitting in 6th position in the red and white cap, and he is very comfortable at this point of the race, Mike.
He really is. I mean, he got an overall, I thought, a very good trip, Dan. Never really had much trouble, always sort of in and among horses, but never in a ton of traffic, and he always traveled really strongly in this race.
Todd Fletcher at Donegal Bay coming up from Gulfstream Park. He's the number 7 right now, 3 wide and in between horses. He was getting a class test. He was getting a distance test up close to this fast pace, and he tires pretty readily.
Yeah, he doesn't run well here, Dan, especially considering how much money he took in here to go off at 3-1. He couldn't make the lead, and he did get caught, 3 wide early, but you can just see right here that he's already under pressure. He cannot keep up. He's going to back right through this field.
Risk Taking is beginning his 3 furlong bid right now, and trying to follow right behind him is the other Pletcher-trained entrant. That's the number 9, Overtook. Risk Taking gets the jump on Overtook, but as we turn into the stretch, Capo Cane seems to be traveling comfortably, but Risk Taking, who had already won at 1.125 miles, is going to wear him down.
He is. He's just going to be stronger at the end of this race. Capo Cane, listen, he did turn away Royal Orb around the second turn there. He was briefly clear in the upper stretch, but you can tell by the time they got to the 8th pole, Dan, he was never going to be able to hold off Risk Taking, who finishes very strongly in here. Capo Cane can't last for a second either. He's getting very tired at the end of this race.
And Capo Cane, after this race, the connections decided they're going to turn him back for the Gotham for his next start. It's a weird sort of situation in New York, Mike, with the 1.125 Withers and then turning back in distance for the mile Gotham and then stretching back out for the 1.125 Wood.
Yeah, I guess in some ways, maybe you don't get the progression that some guys would like, but, this is, a situation where some other horses might fit the Gotham a little bit better with a cutback in distance, and there's nothing wrong with that. They get to stretch out again for the Wood. There's still plenty of time.
So Risk Taking 2 for 2 with blinkers, 2 for 2 at 1.125 miles, and his next start likely will be in the 1.125 Wood Memorial, likely to be his last prep for the Kentucky Derby, that race on April the 3rd, so we're coming off a little bit of a 2-month break. You look at his pedigree, it's no surprise that he wants distance. He's by Medaglia d'Oro, who was an excellent 9 furlong horse. There's a lot of turf on the bottom of this family, and if you go way back, it's the female family of one of your all-time favorites seeking the gold.
Yeah, there's a lot of quality to this pedigree. You're right. There is some turf. They tried this horse on turf once, but that was yielding ground. Maybe at some point they might have to go back to that. But for right now, they don't have to go back to that. 2 straight, pretty strong performances. Then he's already now a 2-time winner over 9 furlongs and just a very short career. This horse stays in his races, and he's only getting better.
Thoughts on Overtook's performance? Didn't show much speed from the opening bell. We saw him try to follow Risk Taking. He didn't seem to have Risk Taking's acceleration on the far turn, but he was getting into the race late in the game. He was running on very well at the end, and this is a horse that has some upside for Fletcher.
Yeah, we'll see. He didn't run terribly in here, but as you sort of already alluded to, Dan, it's not like you're going to come away with a big excuse for him here. He was at the back of the pack, but for most of the trip, he was basically right behind the winner. He tried to follow that horse, but he was working way harder than Risk Taking was from a long way out. To me, he was never really a threat. He got second from a very tired Capo Cane at the end. Overtook ran fine, but he's going to have to do a lot better than that.
I thought Eagle Orb, the New York bred, ran pretty well, Mike. I think this distance is a little bit far for him. He had to break from the far outside post. We saw him chasing the pace 4 wide on the backstretch. He tried to make a run at the Capo Cane when that one tried to get away, and he flattened out. But I thought it was a promising enough effort, and this is the kind of horse that maybe with a little class and distance relief can get to the winner's circle next time.
Yeah, we agree on him. He's a New York bred, so we could probably use, maybe a little class relief, but certainly a cutback in distance. He did not run poorly here, Dan. Wide all the way. He did take a run around that second turn. No match for Capo Cane at that point. And he got tired, but, I don't think that's much of a surprise considering his trip. and just the fact that he doesn't look like a horse who really wants to go this far.
Risk-taking. He has the connections. Chad Brown. He's by Medaglia d'Oro. He has the pedigree. He wants the distance. He's 2 for 2 at a mile and an eighth, and he scored in the Grade 3 Withers as the favorite, returning $5.80.